My bookshelf.
If you've got it, yeah, you got to read it, man.
Yeah, it's on my.
It's in my estimation, certainly one of the top 10 books about Huey pilots and what they actually did,
Is that the one
and
written
what
by
these
William Meacham? Is it Meacham or Beecham?
Bob Mason,
All right.
Bob Mason.
Yeah. See, it's on my shelf right in front of me up there.
Cool, man. Nice.
But I made sure I got all those books to read because, like you, I've got that full respect for those guys as well. And whoever's done anything to serve for their country, it's more than I've been able to do. So, full credit,
Exactly.
and they deserve everything and support. All right, cool. We'll move on to Shooter now.
Okay.
Okay, so how did you first hear about Shooter? I believe from what I've seen, initially you thought you were auditioning for Isaac Johnson. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I did a how should I describe it? There is a program here for underprivileged kids, inner city kids that don't get funding or exposure to the arts.
Right, okay.
And so the casting director of Shooter runs this organization, and what they do is they help kids develop a script. They help the kids to write a script, and then they invite actors to come in, and then the actors have to kind of do a little audition for them, and then they pick the actors they want to act in their script, and then we act it out for their showcase, right?
Oh, cool.
And so I participated, and the casting director, she liked me. We got along really great, and she was like, she told a friend of ours, a mutual friend, that she had this thing Shooter coming up, and that she was going to keep me in mind for that, which is nice. It's nice to be mentioned, but rarely does it ever actually come to fruition. I mean, but she stuck by what she said, and when it was almost a year later that Shooter came about, and like you said, I went in and I auditioned. And I thought I was auditioning for Omar's character, and because that's the sides I had. And then when they offered the job to me, they said that I was going to be Jack Payne, and I was like, "Who? Jack Payne? Oh, you mean the guy that's hardly in it? Because he's hardly in the pilot, and he was in it even less. We actually shot some of those scenes from the pilot after, so they were additions, the whole spa scenes, the clothesline and all that. That wasn't even in the original script. So
awesome! I did scream at the telly. I was like, "Oh, what a clothes!" I was like, "Awesome clothesline!"
Right? And so I had to go in and meet with them again and say, "Well, who is this guy? He's not. I don't know who he is. What's he going to do?" And they John Lavin and Simon Kellen Jones. They were like, no, he's going to be in it. He's going to be the main antagonist, and we think that we'd like to see someone who's not like a mustache twirling bad guy. We want to, we want to go the other way with it, and that sounded perfect, because what better way to have a bad guy that you're almost kind of rooting for in a way, instead of your typical bad guy, because there's some Pete in him, like he's not quite as silly. He's not as silly as Pete was, but he kind of he goes through and does all these terrible things with great spirit and elan,
Yeah.
So
yeah, excellent. I mean, it is the character himself. He's obviously he's ex-special forces. He was the wet work guy, the one who's mopping everyone up and clearing up the messes afterwards. I mean, you've likened him a little bit to Pete there, but obviously he's on the other scale of Pete, I think, as well. More sociopath. So how did you find being able to play like that kind of a sociopathic character?
Fun. A lot of fun. I've always been drawn to, like those guys like in Goodfellas or Michael Madsen in Reservoir Dogs, these guys who you actually like them, but they're doing terrible, terrible things that you can't imagine ever doing.
Yeah.
So, I think there's some sociopathology in all those characters, to be able to devalue human life and not be impacted by it.
Yeah.
You know, I when I was in college, I always was really into abnormal psychology, like minds of serial killers.
Right.
What is the difference between the normal brain and a person who can do these, like
abhorrent acts,
Ted Bundy or serial killers who, like Ted Bundy was such a charismatic guy. You know, he was, people liked him. He was smart, and at the same time, he was just a monster. And that's always fascinated me. Like, when does that happen? How does that happen? Why does that happen? And so to be able to explore that in Jack Payne was, I guess I could tick that off the box, tick that box off of the jobs that I've always wanted to kind of be able to have permission to play, to be that guy.
That's fantastic. And you've obviously played him very well, because like I spoke to you before we started recording, my wife was she just told me to come and relay the message that she absolutely hates you now, because she got a huge crush on you from Warehouse 13, but she watched you in Shooter and she was like, tell him I hate him.
Good. It's working. And it just he gets more nefarious as we go along. But again, he's just like, he does it with a smile.
Does it with How often we're going to see Jack pop up? Can you tell us that? I mean that might be spoilers, but
I'm in every episode. This week's episode, I'm not in very often, and then 3 and 4, I'm in it quite a bit, and then as we get closer to the end of season 1, I progressively become more of a factor.
Yeah. So cool, excellent. Can't wait to be looking for more of that to happen there. Especially after the end of episode 1, it just open-jawed. It just
right. I wish, like, seeing that, I wish I had gone, like, because I still was trying to figure out from the sketch of who Jack Payne was in the pilot. I wish I'd have walked in with more of a smile on my face when he shoots at Bob Lee at the end.
Yeah.
I wish I would have walked in with a little more joy, as opposed to, I guess I kind of had it in my brain like it's almost orgasmic for him what he does. He enjoys that power, because that's really what.
That's a sociopath type thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's all about power, having power over other people. So.
Definitely. I mean, Cynthia Adai fans, that's the Twitter name. How was it to work with Cynthia on this? Because obviously they're a huge fan of Cynthia themselves. So followed her.
Again, I had so much fun on this set. Cynthia is so lovely, and Chantel is fantastic. The girls were both amazing. I mean, I know it sounds like, blowing smoke, but I love the cast. Ryan was great, and Omar, and to work with Tom Sizemore, because Private Ryan and True Romance and Black Hawk Down, and also we had a lot of veterans on the set.
Yeah, I saw that as well. That was...
And it's funny because they remind me of my wrestling buddies.
Right.
It's kind of all this Arrested Developmental guy play, like playing bag tag. And we did the circle, we played the circle game, where you go, oh, what's that? And and if they look at the circle, and then you get to punch them. Or if you put your finger through it, then they get to punch you.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, just stupid juvenile,
boyish games.
But at the same time, because it's interesting, it's that kind of gallows humor in the face of having to do a lot of things that they had to do when they were active military, and I just get along with that, and that's kind of my wheelhouse, juvenile. What? Sign me up.
Yeah, I think we call it squaddy humor over here. It's Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
So it was a lot of fun. Cynthia's amazing, and I wish her the best. And she's got The Accountant that is out now, and so I wish her luck, and hopefully she'll send me some money.
Oh, excellent. As we bring this to a wrap now for you, I'm sure you'll be happy and relieved to hear. I was going to say,
oh man, I'm here for you, buddy.
Thank you. You're very active on social media as well. Do you believe social media is important in today's day and age as an actor? Do you find it a good way to gauge what the fan base is like?
I do, especially because the studios value it.
Yeah.
I've been working with the studio in regards to like making sure that I'm putting out, the trailers that they put out and retweeting and stuff like that. So I think it's really important. I've made a lot of friends on Twitter. It's weird because, like my wife will be like, oh, you're online talking to your make-believe friends. She
That's
doesn't
what mine's
get
like
it.
As well. Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, sure, we haven't necessarily met in person with a lot, but I've had some pretty deep discussions online with people. And I think it can be a great tool for your work as an actor. I think it can be a great tool as a person, as a human, to make these different relationships that you have. I think it can also, obviously, with what has happened here in the country politically, it's become, it gets a little, it can be very vicious, and divisive. But like anything else, there's a good side and there's a bad side. But I think the good side probably outweighs it, especially for somebody. I've had people on Twitter go, oh, Mr. Self-Promoter, all you do is self-promote. And I'm like, I'm an actor.
So what you're supposed to do?
That's my whole job is it's about self-promotion. I try and be graceful about it. I try and be tactful about it. I try not to be gross about it, but I got to do it. I don't have a publicist. So I do it all myself, and I try and show some kind of decorum and self-respect, but it is what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how you get out there. That's how like you say, with the studios asking you, that's how you get noticed, or more noticed by other studios. I've spoken to quite a few. See, this is where I'm singing. I'm putting myself out. I've spoken to quite a few actors now, and they've got the very same thoughts as well. They're very active with social media, and they believe that obviously the self-promotion is what they've got to do. And especially a lot of the independent ones as well, because there's quite a few. I support independent a lot, which and that's all they've. A lot of the time, that's the majority. That's all they've got is to be able to promote themselves out there. So it's definitely don't listen to those kinds of comments because the majority of us we don't. We enjoy it. We like to see what you guys are up to, and you.
Thanks.
So it's good to always see.
Thank you.
Cool. So the last thing I've got to say, is there one last thing you'd like to say to the listeners and fans before we sign off? A little word of wisdom or... well, maybe after the last hour. That might not happen. Joke.
I mean, look, here's the thing. Like I said earlier, by all rights, I should be like the funniest ditch digger in Ohio, but I've been very lucky, and I consider myself really lucky and blessed to be able to do something that actually has an effect on people and something that I love. And I appreciate anyone that takes the time to say hello and to support me. And thank you to the fans. And it's weird. I don't like to say fans. No. It feels like too separate, like, oh, I'm this and you're the fan. So I guess to any of the people that have shown me support, thank you. And be sure to watch Shooter if that's your cup of tea, because I think it can be a lot of fun, and have me come out to Wales so that I can meet you in person.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.